See my screen.
Okay, now I see a screen.
Okay, cool. All right, I think we're live, right?
Not yet.
It says webinar is now streaming on YouTube. I think we're live on YouTube.
Yep. We just went live on just going live on YouTube, and we'll let all our guests in momentarily into Zoom. So we should be getting ready, and we are. Yep. Okay, now the webinar is officially live. See all our guests are coming in. We'll give everybody a moment to log in. Sorry, we ran about a minute or so late, but happy to see that everybody was still patient enough to wait for us. Welcome to our another, well, we would hope exciting webinar. We're going to be talking about the future of project management, 2021 and beyond. You know what that may bring. You know the challenges. We'll cover some of the techniques, talk about some tips, and of course some of the new technology and tools that are out there available to you to manage projects and to collaborate. So without further ado, I'd like to hand this over to Alex Rodov so we could start our webinar. And as always, don't forget, in case you missed something, the replay will be available on our YouTube channel, not only this one, but there's the link will lead you to the whole playlist where all the webinars are. And you can always schedule a one-on-one demo for, you know, if you need us to go over and really look at your own, you know, unique environment and really cater the demo to your needs. And there's also a just wanted to let you guys know that we do have a free trial offer of our Power Platform, Power PPM tool. So if you're interested in that, I'll leave the contact information in the chat. And again, as always, please leave your questions in chat. We will address them as they come up or at the end of the webinar. So again, gonna hand it over to Alex. And here's Alex.
Thanks, Yuri. 1, 2, 3. Sound check. Can you hear me?
Well, I can.
Okay. Okay, great. So I'm going to assume that the rest of the folks are also can hear me, and I do welcome everybody to our webinar, and thanks for coming. We appreciate your time. We hope that you will find it valuable. And today's topic is what is the future of project management? And my name is Alex Rodov, and I am happy to be serving project management community for, well, quite a bit of time by now. And I hope that my experience will be relevant to yours, and you'll find something useful out of this webinar. Okay, what we would touch upon a few topics and a few things to just kind of set the stage. There's a trend for our projects, for our work, right? The work that we do every day is to become more and more so projectized, right? For those of you who are PMPs and have spent some time academically studying the subject, there's a projectized and cross-functional project management styles and methodologies. So when we're working on this on something during our day, no matter what we do, if we're developer or programmer or accountant or anything that you do at your work, no matter what your profession really is, you can simply decompose this and say we're dealing with some smaller or larger projects. It's almost like to say when you are in a sales position, when you're at home and your family, and you're always kind of in a selling mode, you can always put this kind of translate this into the project management. everything that we do, even at home, sometimes some of these home projects are also projects, and we are inevitably becoming project managers. So what I'm trying to say is that the role of the project manager formally been recently introduced, and recently I mean 20, 30, 40 years ago. It wasn't that popular. It wasn't that common to be as a profession. But right now we're more and more focused on specific project managers. So the more project managers, the more project management skills we can get throughout our personal life or professional life, the more proficient we should be in managing those projects. So this is kind of a topic, and this would basically echo other things that we do through our careers. And this is more professionally tailored webinar, but you can clearly see how this can be applied to your profession, to your personal life. Anyway, when we talk about project management, agility in project management, and what kind of new things that we need to look when we look in the future of project management, and this is all sort of based on my experience and our company experience with all kinds of different customers, small and large, and all kinds across industries, across verticals. The projects are getting more complex. The amount of different types of technology we need to deal with, the amount of number of things that we need to put into the equation, and then start kind of pushing this whole, algorithm towards some progress and getting things done eventually. Things are getting more and more complex, and they're just the future, right? You can see there are more inventions coming in, more new things coming up, and we need to deal with that all and push those projects forward. So nothing's going to get easier. It's just going to get more complex. So our future look at this is we need to deal with that, and we're going to talk about this a little bit. They involve many more individuals. So we have now more teams involved, and not just to say that we used to have a smaller teams, and there's a tendency why would we have many people on this few projects. It's just the amount of teams the amount of people we had per project could only be happening to those large and only those big projects that we had seen. Big projects had a lot of teams in play, and that was the past and the current situation too. But what has changed is that with the technology, with the amount of with the internet, and with communication improvement of different teams, we can now allow ourselves to assemble large number teams with a large number of people, not just for the big projects, but just for the different complex projects. So we have more and more, so we'll be able to see more people involved, maybe not necessarily full-time engaged into one specific project, but you have teams, hold on one second. You have teams involved into a, you have teams, sorry, this is the kid is trying to take something from my desk, which is not happening. Anyway, so we'll be able to see more people engaged into a simpler project, and engage into the partial capacity into those projects. But based on our improvements in the way we communicate with the team, we can now allow to actually have that to happen. And the appetite for this kind of change is really out there from those organizations that are pulling these projects together. All right, and most large organizations are geared up to run their whole operations in an agile way. Basically, what we're trying to say here is, it used to be, if it's a big project, it must run 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and then another 2 years to redo all the mistakes that were done in the previous years and things like that. Big elephant, like projects that are very, very hard to move around. But today, not just we, can actually move things quicker around. The current situation with everything that is changing in the world, forcing us to be more agile, and we just really don't have another choice. Even for the large projects, there's no way anyone would say, I want to build this project for 5 years. It's very hard to predict, what types of changes are going to happen in the next 2 years, right? And then planning accordingly. And look, I'm not saying for some of the circumstances from some of the large construction projects, you can still plan for like a long term. I'm talking more of the average number of projects, average projects in the average organization. Maybe IT projects, building software, building something for the market condition, building products and things like that. So we need to be able to process projects more efficiently within a shorter period of time, engage in different skills, different people, a lot of people from different skill sets, and dealing with the complexity, pushing this whole thing forward. That's basically what we're dealing with, and in the future, which is basically right now, right? So there's no now, there's now and the future. So we need to deal with this at this point right now. So the future is flexible, and that's one of the themes, one of the principles that we're trying to get accustomed to, especially our customers to get accustomed to, is being flexible is something that we have to put in place. It's almost like if you put a concrete building in place, it's going to be hard to move this around. So our processes that we build around project management for the future, right? For those complex things, for those multiple people involved things, for those large things that needs to be moving quickly, we need to start putting the frameworks that are flexible, meaning that we need to put more variables into those frameworks. So we need to kind of be able to move this thing around and shape this up, maybe even for from different perspectives, from stakeholder flexibility perspective. I'm going to drill deeper a little bit here, but really set the framework as opposed to the concrete, solid rock, rock solid process, which is looks stable the way it looks. But if you think in reality, if you really need to change anything in this rock, right, it's going to be really hard to do. So don't build up the rocks that are super stable and lost for centuries. We need to build something really flexible that we can work with and get those projects done. So stakeholders with shorter attention span, and we've dealt with that quite a bit. It's not about the stakeholders are getting, for some reason, don't get enough, attention span for some, unexpected reasons. It's just the amount of things that they need to deal with, amount of things we need to deal with. And I'm not talking about the pandemic on top of everything, and I'm talking complexity of working from home on top of everything. I'm just talking about, think about how many things, how many developments going on around the world, around our businesses, around the market, in the marketplace. We have to do more things, and we have to deal with more things as a stakeholders, and we have to we only have 24 hours a day, and if we need to pay attention equally or prioritize our attention, we have less and less time per given subject. So the amount of time we can spend and focus on anything is basically shortened. We have to be laser focused and don't have time to think about it a couple of weeks and things like that. We got to make very fast decisions pretty quickly and move on. Stakeholders with competing demands on their time. So again, I have short period of time. I need to prioritize how much time I need to spend on this project versus this project versus that project. And if my process, the framework, the solutions that are helping me to move these projects forward are not I'm not in compliance with that, I'm not going to have a lot of things done, basically. This project is going to be delayed likely, and we're going to have, some problems down the road. Complex and unknown technical situations. Again, that remember that complexity that came into play. Now we have to deal with, space exploration. Right now we need to deal with, fast internet. Now we need to deal with a lots of new information. Just amount of data on our lab that we need to process is growing exponentially. So the amount of complexity is there, and we need to deal with that. Complex and unknown geographical and socio-political situation. Goes without saying, everybody's remote. I mean, you at this point, you may want to check where your team is, and I hear a lot of times where we have the team members, and all of a sudden someone says, "Oh, I'm actually there and there," and "Oh, I'm actually moved, here and there." So teams are all over the place. We need to take into account their localization, local specifics, maybe time zone changes, and things like that. So I mean, it wasn't easy. It wasn't new for the IT projects back in the day, but it's getting, not just say the more popular, but it's getting more spread. It's becoming more standard for folks to be doing their work remotely in different locations. Higher staff turnover. No such thing as a job for life. So comes with those situations where you had to be on the project and you're like hired full time to do a project. I see more and more situations where specific skills are required in different projects in different places. So you may be on a project, but you may be on this project for a certain period of time. And it's becoming more crucial to develop the specific level of skills where those specific level of skills are in demand. And technology and solutions right now are helping us to formalize the project teams with, variety of skills, and yet being able to efficiently utilize those resources. So the resource management, this is where the resource management comes into play, where you have a lot of people and different type of skills, and what is it the right balance of applying those skills to all your projects that you're undertaking. Unfortunately, there's no silver bullet. There still will be time when resources are over allocated, under allocated, but we have a better understanding and better framework how to deal with this, and how to scale dealing with that in the organization. I think this is very, very valuable. Greater demand being put on the management teams. We still need to deal with people, no matter how much of the technology we have in place. We have to deal with teams and people, and the level of engagement there is not decreasing by any means. And again, staying flexible in that is also a good place to be. Collaborative contract and partnering with suppliers. At some point, you may just run out of resources at your disposal, and you need to hire a contractor or contractors, or the supplier or vendor with the contractors. Being able to quickly run through the process of sourcing, procurement, find the best vendors for the job. That may become very important for the success of the project. Guess what? It takes time. It takes time to correct wrong resources being engaged. It takes time to redo the work if things were not done correctly. And again, the more and more vendors, the specific vendors that are focusing on the specific things are out there, and you have a lot of, I think in this marketplace, you have a lot of variety with the sharp pencils out of vendors to choose from and that are focusing on a specific thing. This would allow you to stay flexible down the road for your project. Increasing complex regulation and governance. This is something that we deal all the time, deal with all the time. We deal with the regulations, we deal with the government, and if my personal preference, I'm staying away from this as much as I can, but some of these great projects are there, and I'm happy to get involved. Being able to navigate through the governance, navigate through regulation is becoming very important for anyone who's dealing with the regulations and government. Anyway, so I do want to save some time to actually show you some of the solutions and actual clicks, and so you can see more on the screen versus me talking over the screen. So we're going to take a look at one of the solutions, which I think is the best in class as far as flexibility. And we did spend some time talking about being flexible, and the future of project management is in demand to be flexible, to be super simple, to be very simple. It's basically, if you're, there's a great way to check whether this is simple or not. If you put anyone who is not project manager, who is just a person who is not familiar with project management, has no clue about the Gantt charts or anything, if you just walk him through or her through the solution, the project management solution, and there's like nodding on the other side of the wire, right? And there's understanding from the first shot, then it means it. That means it's going to work. It's simple, because guess what? A lot of those folks that you'll be implementing this for are not familiar with project management. They may not know what the Gantt chart is. They may not know what the critical path is. They may not know what the the baselines are and things like that. So we don't have to be complex in order to be flexible. We should, and we absolutely have to be simple in the way we put these processes out there, especially when you're just starting. Especially when you're starting and you don't have a lot of processes in place, you need to go super simple, very, very, very easy to learn and get adopted. So project management software, the next generation, Power PPM, right? So we're going to look at the Power PPM solution. I think again, this is our best-in-class, flexible and simple solution, and yet has tremendous potential to scale out for the largest organization, Fortune 50 or so. We're going to take a quick look at that. We're going to also look at how not just the flexibility, not just in the way you can use this, but flexibility in the way we can actually get this up and running in your organization, basically in no time. We're going to take a quick look at some of those timelines, and we can we'll see if we can have time for more like questions and stuff like that. All right, I'm gonna run through some of these screenshots first. Actually, no, I'll change my mind. What I'll do now, I'll run through a quick demo, and once we're done with the quick demo, I'm gonna back.
Actually, Alex, before you do that, maybe
Yes.
we can launch a quick poll. As always, we'd like to get sort of feedback of what our audience, where they are, currently in their, PPM environment. So this is always, as always, it's anonymous. It actually only has 2 questions today.
Hey, you run the show. That's perfect timing. So go ahead, launch the poll. In the meantime, I'll switch my screens and get ready for the demo.
Good. All right, great. Here's the poll, and again, it is anonymous. All right, great. Let me go ahead and share the results. Looks like, as Alex sort of described it in the beginning of the presentation, a lot of hybrid environments out there. And it's good to see that a lot of you are considering updating your technology. So here are the results.
All right.
Okay, are we ready to go, Alex?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Do you still see my screen?
Uh, I can see a screen.
Okay, great. All right. So, but I wanted to obviously, we do a lot of work with Microsoft, and um, many of our solutions are Microsoft based, and this is Microsoft based, Office 365 based Power App solution that is has a lot of flexibility and it has a lot of simplicity. And the number one task in any PPM solution, in any PPM framework, is basically to have the centralized database of all the projects and all the initiatives that are going on, so we can pull the list of inventory, right, and see what is going on, and how do we how do we what are the projects that we're running. And you'll be surprised, but a lot of organizations, they don't just simply don't know what they do. I mean, it sounds silly, but I've been into many situations, financial even companies, big banks. They're just because they're so big and so complex and so diverse, and they have different pockets of budgets, all over the place. It's sometimes hard to come to an agreement as to what is it our how much money do we spend on projects, how much money do we spend on capital, and then there are different derivative questions like, oh, if we spend money on this and this, maybe we're spending money on developing the product, maybe this is a capital investment versus operational investment, and then there are different taxation involved. So there's other things that are other questions, other benefits of putting the order into your business process and understand how you improve your business, how to improve the process. Um, there's a lot of value in doing that. And then number one is just to simply have a list of things that are there that you can say, we're building this project, we're having this much money spending on this project, and this project is moving along, not moving along. Maybe we have some red indicator saying there's some problem here or not, and have a better understanding, of the budget, a better understanding of the timeline, and then you have answers to a lot more questions, um, where the questions are coming from upstairs to say, how's this and this doing, or how much money do we spend on this initiative or that theme or that epic or that program or portfolio. You have way more answers by having a simple solution like this. And you can even say this is Excel on steroids, and you can have all these lines, editable. But the idea of having the portfolio of projects the same, consistently listed like this is very, very beneficial on itself. And keeping this consistent, like closing projects, done projects, active projects, on hold projects. These are sort of very easy and self-explanatory things, but a lot of companies just failing to do that. And a lot of times it's because there is a complex solution in place and people just not using it as they should be. And putting this simple and flexible solution like this, we convinced that this is a way better way of doing business. We're convinced that this is way better way of presenting any of these projects. and way better to be able to answer those complex questions and forecast. Um, so, and I'm just going to go through very quickly and create a new project. So you can see that each of these projects have different metadata. We're just going to open and click on the new project here, and I'm going to go through this process very methodically, so you can get to the point of actual simplicity. So now we have to fill the form. So we're just going to say this is a project. This is like a webinar project from Trusted IT Group, and I'm just going to say, you know what, we didn't create too many mandatory fields, so you have a few here, like the name. So I'm going to click on save, and what this will do is we'll just save my projects, and I'm ready to go. So basically, we created the record. Now we can just add more things to it. We see that we're in the initiation stage here right now. We can move through stages. I'm going to need more things to fill out. As long as I have to move from this stage to another stage, so the more things would be required for me to fill out as I move from stage to stage. You would notice that I can also, fill out some preliminary checklist here and say maybe I need, I'm done with this. I have my scope, I have my budget, figure it out. I have my resources, figure it out. That kind of give you the indication as what kind of preparedness you have for this project. I think all other standard fields like sponsor or department, everything could be configured, and you can pick your sponsor from the company, and then pick the right person. So with all that, you can also look at the alignment with your business as far as whether this is a portfolio related project or this is a program related project. You can also set the alignment of this project with a business driver. Let's say you have all kinds of business drivers, and you can come up with your own list of business drivers and kind of set the alignment to those business drivers for your project. One very important aspect here is that I like to use a template, and we have here quite a bit of a template. I'm going to use the standard template to create my timeline. So I'll just say I have my specific company list of tasks that we use for this specific types of projects, and I can pick the template for my timeline and create that. And we're going to take a look at this in the timeline. But here on a timeline of notes, that's extremely useful tool, extremely flexible. But in this case, I'm saying I'd like to create a note and say like this is a kickoff of this project note, right? And I'm going to add that note. So what it's going to do is going to create that record that my note, I created this note by me, such and such date, such and such time. I'm just going to say another note. Look at another note. So note 2, right? And these notes would accumulate. Every time we have like a status meeting or a discussion about this project, I can keep my notes here, or everybody can keep their notes here. And I would see who did what note, and we can see the thread of all these notes starting from the very beginning of the project. Extremely valuable to see how people commented and what action items. I mean, there's place for action items too here, but we can get some notes accumulated here. I think this is very, very neat as far as managing the project. So if I go to the timeline, and this timeline is going to look like my template that I predefined for my simple projects. And I can have a variety of different templates and reuse those templates over and over again for new projects going forward. Very easy to manage timeline. I can quickly set a new, create a new task here. Just going to create a new task, simply link this, create this dependency, drag and drop, done, right? Very, very simple, intuitive interface. I can also add resources. Let me just add this task, assign a resource. I'm going to say this is going to be PPMI project user 4 and things like that. I can start adding my team members to the list, to this project, and assign users as resources to my tasks. Very, very straightforward, simple. We're trying to avoid the complexity that Microsoft Project necessarily has, and you have to go through the specific training to be able to work with MS Project scheduling engine. Here, we're trying to kind of take the best out of it and make it web-based, real-time, very, very simple to manage. Quickly going through the resource plan, and the resource planning is done in a way where we can create resource plans based on the allocation of resources at a certain capacity to a project plan. So we'd like to stay away from specific assignments and build our resource demand from that. We're trying to stay at a high level. So for example, this is our project. And for our project, we're going to say that, so we're at the request. So we're going to request this, right? So we're going to take one IT consultant, drag and drop it here, one developer, drag and drop it here. And then here we're going to say in February 2021, we don't need anybody, but March, we need a consultant for 40 hours. We'll just say 1 week in March, and then 40 hours of developer in March. Gonna close this. I'm gonna close this for a second, and maybe 40 hours. So this is the request, right? The R stands for the request. I'm gonna send you 40 hours of developer in April, right? And that's basically that's what I do when I'm creating the request for resource. So now we need to allocate these resources. We can say, well, now it was requested such and such for was requested 40 hours here in March. So let's look at list of our consultants. So we have PMI project user 1, project user 3. So we're going to drop this for this consultant and try to fill that position with the actual resource, right? So what it gives me the ability to make requests for my project, assign the right people, drag and drop to these assignments, and then create my pipeline, the demand of my resources to my project. Right here, I can also see this project manager has 38 hours left in February, right? And it has, let's close it down for a second, it has 104 hours left in March. So I can still have 40 hours assigned to this person, and there's not going to be conflict. What happens if I add, too much? If I add, 160 hours, this would show me right away how much over allocation I have for this resource in that month. So I'm not dealing with the complexity of certain tasks within the schedule. I'm dealing with resource balancing by dealing with resources assigned to a project on month-by-month basis. I can also do this on quarterly by quarter basis, right? I can do this year by year or week by week, and I can select the different months that I need to work with, right? I can change months from this time frame to a different time frame, and I can quickly assign resources to my project, see if I'm over allocating them real time, and then basically bring up some conflict of resources over under allocation on the appropriate forums. All right. With that, KPIs flexibility is something that we also strive for here. So we are here putting some really simple to manage KPIs. I'm basically, as a project manager, I know what kind of status I have for my project. I can quickly build a map, this red, yellow, green map of indicators saying, scope-wise, we're good. Quality, we're suffering because we're rushing and getting things done so quickly. Maybe we have some issues, and I can put some narrative about this in my KPI page here. But I can just quickly get to my status, have the map of red, yellow, green indicators, and have that being placed on my portfolio view. So when they do have a portfolio view meeting, my thing would pop up, and I have exactly the narrative that I can bring up to the forum and explain myself why I'm red, why I'm green. All right, so this is something very, very simple and flexible. And from here, you can grow all the way up to making this calculated, all the way making this red, yellow, green automatically changing based on the trends and things like that. You can go as complex as you want, but you got to start very simple and very flexible in the very beginning. We also incorporate the financials here. So from the financials perspective, we can start putting some numbers into our timeline, spreading by months, and building the structure based on the actuals, budget, and forecast. Very simple strategy here. Again, you can grow from here into any complex financial forecasting model as you wish, but this is a good place to start. And we do have flexibility to do that as well. Very typical risk management framework, log of your risk, automatically popping up on your risk matrix. Very standard and straightforward. Maybe a little bit too much for the occasional project manager, but this is extremely useful to have it right there in the solution. Also, change requests, the collection of change requests, the collection of logs, as far as changes to your project, very, very useful to have as a project management framework as part of the solution. Stakeholders. This is something that not everybody will be using, but a lot of times we have a lot of stakeholders to keep happy, right? Sometimes we just need to understand who we need to keep more happy than others, right? In understanding this map of stakeholders, who is really the key sponsor, the key stakeholder versus someone that we need to keep informed and up to date with what's going on. So that helps us to quickly navigate to the different stakeholders. Status reports, as you're proud to say that a lot of times when we have an opportunity to create the status report automatically, here we have options to create those status reports automatically and then spread, and then send it to the right people when we see fit. Snapshots and related objects. I'm gonna skip on that for now for the sake of time. I do want to show you a little bit of the program framework. Let me just save my changes here. Port template I'm going to use. Switching to programs. I'd like to bring up this program here. So as a program, you may have a description of the program, the description, the primary driver, all kinds of program level attributes that you may want to have. But primarily, if you look at the related projects, primarily the program is a collection of many projects. In this case, these are 3 projects that are part of the program at the moment for this specific program, new construction project program, right? But most interestingly, I'd like to mention that you can also have stakeholders and issues and change requests for the program, right, at the program level. But I think the most interesting part is the timeline of the program. So right here we have this pre-construction part. We have the IT kicks in, and then construction. So we have like 3 different projects that are part of this program. And let me just say, I'm going to go to this construction project plan. So I'm just going to go to my construction project plan, see how quickly I can get to this project as from the program into the project, how quickly I can get this refreshed and works great. I do proud. I mean, from other solutions that we have, like Project Online and Project Server, I think this one is stepping up really from the Project Online and Project Server, my personal opinion. So here on the timeline, I think we have only one task here, right? And I'm gonna add a new task. I'm gonna add this task as, say, this is TIG Alex task A, or something like that. Spell my own name. Okay. And I'm gonna add that task and keep it here. And you know what? Maybe I'm just gonna even schedule this one to be right next after the initial task here. Okay. Now I'm gonna go to my program. By the way, I can quickly get to my program is by looking at this. So the new program, I can look at the program association, and then from there I can quickly jump into the actual program. Again, this is the program. We have this three projects, part of this program. Go to timeline, and I can quickly see that other task right here. This is a new task, TIG Alex task A. And what I can do, I can cross project link from this task, let's just say, to this new task. New task, IT kicks in, this is another project. So from here, I'm gonna link this to this task, and then it pushes my schedule, not just this other schedule, but it pushed the third schedule as well. So what I'm showing you right now is the cross-project dependency that is extremely hard to get into any of the existing solutions out there. And the simplicity with which I'm doing this right now is amazing. And the complexity behind the scene is it is fairly complex, because we need to look at 3 projects and kind of build those links. But the way, as a program manager, I can establish my links here, and I can manage my timeline for multiple projects in one view. I think this capability alone is extremely valuable. You can also make this big screen, look at the whole thing in one time. You can look at this timeline by month, by quarter, by year. I think this is a lot of potential to be extremely useful for anyone who's using a program management framework as part of your project management strategy. I do want to mention one last thing before I switch to my PowerPoint, is the time tracking and time registration. So here we have our time registration, which is basically a timesheets, and in this case, the flexibility here is based on, we can put lines for your timesheets from anywhere. I'm talking about, we can include lines from Project Online, we can include lines from Jira, we can include lines from Excel, we can include lines from ServiceNow, we can include lines from anything you can imagine. The way we built it is so easy to set up this connection between other systems that people get work assigned to, and then have this presented in one central time tracking system like this. Well, check this out. So the same view we have in Teams. So I'm just switched here. Let me just actually have you see me clicking on this. So the time for Teams, right? So I'm basically opening this in my Teams, and I'm doing this in the browser. You can have that Teams view in actual Teams application, and have that team as an app here listed, and basically anyone who is using Teams for chatting or regular meetings, they can click here and fill out the timesheet very quickly, select the period, and get it done, submit, and then approve. And again, flexible and simple. Very flexible, very simple. That's probably everything I could cover within this limited time, but you can see a lot of different sections here, like strategy and other collaboration, and all kinds of additional reports. We can just flip through some of the dashboards here, flip through some of the financial, and trends and stuff like that we have as part of the standard implementation. Oops, something went wrong here. Maybe it's refresh, because I was trying to kind of pull all these tabs ahead of time. So when it's time's up, you need to refresh. And it also uses the direct query. So nothing like you would need to use the report was refreshed or wasn't refreshed. We use here direct query from Power BI to our backend and common data service. And all the reports are real time. Okay. All right. So, well, almost there. So it took me to explain everything real time. That's why it's taking a little bit long. We'll just switch to this one. Yeah, like a trends here, where we can build historical snapshots of the information and having this being part of the solution. Anyway, going back to my report here. I'd like to actually go to, because we don't have much time. We will be able to share some of this information with you as well. But I do want to get to this slide because we're running out of time a little bit. Mobile first and mobile friendly. So we have all of this Power BI and Power PPM screens that you saw. They're mobile friendly. You can have literally on your phone a button to launch the app and run your project reports. You can look at the projects, you can create new projects, you can update statuses, you can basically do everything that I did on that screen on the browser. You can do everything like I showed you on the mobile phone. Pull that menu on the left and see the portfolio strategy, everything like that. As far as quickly glancing onto the back end of the solution, I mean, this is what I was talking about, complex, right? Sorry for bringing this up, but yeah, we do have a lot of bells and whistles behind the curtains. But basically, what I do want to page, stress a little bit here is that this other line of business applications like SAP, Salesforce, Jira, and others, we can basically naturally connect to those data sources and have that information be part of the application, not just a part of the data set within our reporting framework, but having those applications to be part of our application. And not to mention the time tracking mechanism, where we can look at everything that people do. I mean, we don't look at everything people do, but if they're working on something, we can make this all visible in one streamlined time tracking solution, and no matter what the solution they use to do their work or track their work. So some of the deployment steps, we look at the contract obviously, but then we look at the build, test, and then production. So the way the Power Platform works is basically we can build and bake everything into the managed solution. So we'll work with you, we will build it, we create a managed solution first, and then we package everything up, we test everything, and then pack it into the managed solution, and then we deploy it so you can quickly get it into from your sandbox environment into your production environment very, very quickly. Microsoft has done so much work on streamlining this process. It's almost like very similar to CI/CD process, where you have the pieces of code, and then you can streamline the deployment of the changes and configurations to those pieces, and making those changes part of the managed solution. I know I said too many mumbo jumbo here from the technical perspective, but trust me, It's been streamlined, and we've been successfully deploying this already, and I think it works great. From the timeline perspective, there are things that involve scope, priorities, backlog, time box, resources, stakeholders, all kinds of things that are involved into the design and build. And then we'll look at the testing the solution and then the release, right? So this is more detailed as far as, what is it we will do. But more importantly here is that we can do this in an iterative approach. So again, starting simple and flexible, starting simple, remember it's flexible, and then growing from there, taking the feedback and adding more, so we can stay flexible, stay simple, but yet accommodate the specific requirements, specific environment and situation of user customer. And this time frame basically takes 2 to 4 weeks duration to get this one run end to end complete. 2 to 4 weeks. Again, we are not building a big elephant that is going to be hard to move around and maybe not flexible enough. Simple, flexible, quickly get done and implemented, and you can grow it departments, and you can grow it to other users. Anyway, I think this is. I was trying to make it on time and allocate some time for questions, but if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to take some. And do we have any?
Yeah, no, at this point, there are no questions in the chat. So it looks like you did a great job explaining it. We have no questions.
All right. Well, again, thanks everybody for stopping by. I do appreciate your time. We're looking forward to have your questions. Please feel free. No obligation from you to ask any questions either now or offline or after this webinar. We'll be happy to provide any answers. And again, thanks for coming, and have a great day.
Yeah, and all the information is in the chat, and there's a replay link for our YouTube channel. And like Alex said, as always, we're here to answer anything and everything that you may have for us. Thank you all, and have a great day.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.